what's the point of job costing? Like, is it just to sit there and look at numbers and high five each other? No, it's so that I can do my next proposal more accurately. It's so we can do the next job more efficiently. That is the outcome of job costing.
This episode is brought to you by Hardscaper.com. The Hardscaper mission is to empower industry professionals with the skills, inspiration, and confidence they need to take their businesses to new heights. Struggling with training programs for your team? Looking for helpful tips to build a better company? Subscribe today to gain access to hours of interactive on-demand hardscape construction and business courses for free. Check out Hardscaper.com. You're listening to Hardscape Growth, a podcast for hungry professionals who want to grow their businesses and level up. Even the best, most dominant championship-winning teams do video analysis after every game. They win 10-0, 20-0, 45-0. They still do video because there's always something you can improve. That's what we're talking about today on this week's episode of the Hardscape Growth Show. I'm your host, Alex from Techo-Bloc, and we're joined by Wes from Synked Up, and we're talking about job costing, looking back at the job as soon as it's completed to figure out what can I do better at, where did we make a mistake, where do we overestimate, where do we underestimate, where do we lose some money, how can we do better next time around? Wes, what is job costing? Did I do a good job describing it?
Yeah, you absolutely nailed it. Yeah, it's basically looking back, regardless of how good or poorly you did. Like owner operators, contractors are, like I said on the earlier episode, tend to be the busiest people on the face of the earth. Working mornings, nights, weekends, and it's very easy to stay addicted to the urgent and not come back to the foundational principles of the things that are important. And job costing falls into that bucket time and time again, because job costing, I think so much of the time we talk about it from an aspirational level where we agree it's a good thing. We need to do it. Yeah. I need to go back and do that video analysis of the game, like you said. But who's actually doing it? And that's when 90% of the room puts their hands down.
Well, I'll tell you who's doing it. People who earn twice as much profit as people who don't.
That's right. Yeah.
So
job costing,
that's a good motivator.
And what's the point of job costing? Like, is it just to sit there and look at numbers and high five each other? No, it's so that I can do my next proposal more accurately. It's so we can do the next job more efficiently. That is the outcome of job costing. Not saying, oh, I'm a numbers nerd, I'm looking at these graphs and cool, I feel good about myself. Sure, that's a blip in the story. It's not the end of the story. It's not the end until you've team meeting, like you said, even the championship teams do it. Team meeting, crew members, crew leaders, everybody's involved. What do you think went well about this job? What do you think did not go well about this job? Why did we go over hours on this? Why do we use significantly more materials on that? And guess who's going to have the best ideas on how to become more efficient? Your crew, not you. And that's the point of job costing. So you can do the next proposal more accurately. So you can do the next estimation of how quickly you can do this job more accurately. You do not want to be caught in the state of I'm too busy to look, and therefore I am chronically underestimating something on my bids. It could be labor, it could be materials, it could be anything.
And a big byproduct of that process is you'll identify areas to improve in your business. Example, having a dustless saw. It saves you the cleanup time after you've done all the cuts. Example, moving away from like a dingo, a single ride-on skid steer, into something bigger because the size of your projects warrants that. Example, training for your people. You're recognizing, you know what? We are constantly over on our retaining wall builds. Why? Why is that happening? Go out to the next job. Look at what's happening on the retaining walls. Why are we grinding and shimming every single block? We have to get better at base prep. Training on base prep next week. These are the things that you can really home in on. Like, that's the thing we got to fix right now.
And that's the output of job costing, not just looking at numbers.
Right. Like, you can be more accurate in your estimates, but you can also identify the things you got to fix or improve or change.
And I think so many contractors are guilty of bidding jobs as if they were on the job site every hour of the day, when in reality they're not.
Mhm.
And so they're bidding based on what they can do with their years of experience, but their crew is maybe earlier in their journey and it takes them slightly longer, but you bid as if you were doing it. That happens all the time. And what's really frustrating is when you run into a contractor that's just like refuses to take the action required. Start by bidding more hours until you can train your team more effectively, and just says, "Well, nobody wants to work. Nobody does it as good as I do." Like that's the wrong
They should work. They
response.
should put out 100 square feet an hour. That's what I
Yeah,
expect. Well, they don't.
exactly.
They don't.
Well,
They do
they
80.
don't,
So do
and
something about it.
your bank account doesn't care. Like reality is reality. You know, when your bank account doesn't care that they should be doing it by 100
Yeah.
square feet. It just isn't. They
So
don't.
what is this process? How do I do it?
Well, okay. So after moving from aspirational, like what the point of job costing is, why should I do it? What it actually looks like, it's not that glamorous. It really truly is a discipline. It looks like, instead of texting my boss my hours for the week, it looks like, or just tracking my time just for payroll, like, hey, I worked 42 hours this week and all I have is that sum total for the week. Instead of that, it looks like I have my total hours for payroll, but I also have allocated those hours to a job. Every hour of payroll gets allocated to a job. And if you're doing training, meetings, something else that's not on a job, that's tracked to an unbillable
Mm-hmm.
job or category, however you structure it in whatever system you're using.
I guess that would go into your overhead.
Yeah, the unbillable stuff goes into your overhead.
Yep.
That's right. So basically, you have to get to the point where inside of your business, you cannot run payroll until every hour of that payroll has been allocated to a job. Because without that data, you're running blind. And if you're having trouble in cash flow, you have no data to make a better decision on tomorrow because you don't know. It's like, I bid the job for 150 hours. How many did it take? I don't know. I just knew it felt like it took forever. Like, that's not data, you know? So it's that. It's the non-glamorous, do I really have to do this? This feels overkill. The new crew member needs to train on how to do it.
Okay, if we're all on that job, it's a 2-week job. That's where we go every morning, and that's where we leave from every night for 2 weeks. Don't I know? Like, what analysis do I have to do? I know it was 3 guys times whatever, 50 hours a week times 2 weeks is 100 hours. That's what it was.
It really is.
Times 3 guys, so 300 hours.
It really is that simple. It's just saying, like, hey, but you have, the point is you have to document it with the timesheets. Like, the time, it has to be like, I was on this job all day. I was on this job all day. I was on this job all day. So that it's not like something that you only retain in your memory within a week or two of completing the job, and then 3 months later it's gone. Okay. Because if you do document it, and it's not only kept in your memory, because many contractors do that, and they feel like they are job costing because they know how many hours they spent, and it's based on memory and it's not documented correctly. What you lose by doing that is saying 3 months later, 6 months later, next year, getting a lead for another job, you're like, hey, I did a job like that before. How did I score on that job? How long did that take? Let me go back and look at that as a reference so I can make sure that I'm bidding this one accurately. So that is a huge advantage of having it in writing or in data or in a software or in a spreadsheet, is you can use your past to inform your future. Using the past to inform your future really is the essence of job costing.
I know you say it's that simple, but like, are there levels to this?
Yes, there are. So at minimum, you go from only tracking time for payroll, and it's not tracked to any job, to now tracking it to a job. Stage 2 is not only am I tracking it to the job, I'm tracking it to the work area. So I'm segmenting the outdoor kitchen from the patio, from the pool deck, from the lighting. Yeah. Like, I'm tracking the time to the work area. Now I can say, hey, overall, the job, we were within 5% on estimated versus actual. But when I dig into the per work area level, I'm seeing we went 20% over on this one, but we were 18% under on that one, and it canceled each other out on the whole job. But if I had done the job with just that one work area,
piece,
I would have lost money. So you need to know that.
And is there another level? Like, when I learned this stuff, it was like, there's the labor, equipment, material, and subs component, yes, but there's also like by job function. So not just the work area, the job function, meaning like building base, screeding bedding layer, laying pavers, cutting pavers, installing edge restraint. Like, these are all the pieces that make up that work area. Do you
You can
suggest
do
going to
that.
that extent, or work
You
area
can't.
is sufficient for most?
You can do that. I feel strongly you should do it by work area. I view the per task, like excavating, laying, cutting, a bit more as a your call. You decide where you want to go with it. Because
Okay.
I don't want to what I don't promote is saying, oh, I want to do the whole thing, the most advanced level. I'll do it all the way down to the task, excavating, cutting level. But then because it's so much data entry, it doesn't get done perfectly. And when you do look at it later, you're like, yeah, but I don't trust it. I only want to do the data that I'm able to capture consistently so that I can trust the data. And I only want the data that will help me make a better decision tomorrow.
That's wise, though. That's
Yeah.
wise. Like if you're not doing anything, start with just the job. Once you've mastered doing the job religiously, then okay, now we will do it by work area. Once you've really dialed that in and you've got it locked in and you want to fine tune even further, well, then you can start getting into job functions.
Yeah.
That's
you don't
good.
want to over-engineer it. You don't want to over-engineer because then you'll get resistance from the team or you don't have buy-in or whatever.
I didn't start the stopwatch when I fired up the saw. What do you want me to do?
That's right. And you over-engineer it and it feels like you need to be efficient at the end of the day. You
start getting more BS too. Because the guys know, he really wants me to track the time cutting. What time did we start cutting? It was sometime after lunch. Put 2 hours. And then you're putting garbage in, right?
Garbage in, garbage out. Yeah, exactly. But what I want to do with that, and the work area level gives it to me granularly enough that I can. What I want to do with that data is build production rates. So if I estimated that patio portion would take me 100 hours, and it would say at whatever 400 square feet, that tells me that my production rate was X. But then I know that it took me 120 hours for that 400 square feet. My production rate was actually Y. And then I want to take that result and go back and update my estimating production rate so that my next estimate is in line with reality of what I can actually do.
The biggest trend in outdoor living right now is wellness retreats at home. The calming sound of running water is at the heart of creating that spa-like escape. And with Atlantic Owasa, adding this element is easier than ever. Their professional-grade water feature kits and spillways are simple to install, letting you bring that soothing flow to any project. We've used these products on a few of our Hardscaper Showcase projects, and our clients couldn't be happier with the results. Plus, Atlantic Owasa offers training sessions and contractor rewards to help you grow your expertise and your business. Check out Atlantic-oase.com to learn more and take your projects to the next level.
One thing to consider with that is when you do go over hours on a particular job or work area, the immediate question is, why? Was it a one-off? Was it an anomaly? Or was it simply the fact that there was not enough hours in the estimate? Like it was not a one-off. And that's why you do need to have the team meeting aspect, or the post-job review, the video analysis, like you said, from the championship team. You need
when do you do
review.
That though? Like you do it right after a job, you do it the next morning, you do it once a week. Like how do you build in that cadence? Because I think that's like, okay, doing the paperwork is one thing. Like I'm the boss, I'll do it tonight, whatever. But like the team meeting is eroding production hours.
Yeah.
So, and where do I have it? And how do we get like good feedback?
Again, do what works for you. Don't over engineer it. But what we did at Tussie was we have a big TV on the wall in the shop. So everybody's coming in 7 a.m. and we'd always spend 5-10 minutes there grabbing a cup of coffee, kicking off details for the job for the day. And right then's what, if a job had just gotten wrapped up, it would be, hey, it's up there on the screen. The job costing report's right there. The salesperson that estimated is right there. And that review happens it's lightweight. Like it happens in 5-10 minutes and we're off.
Okay. It's not longer than that.
No. I mean, it can be if you think there's more to discuss, but
if there's a major problem or something. Patio, okay, we were within 10%. We're good with that. Yeah. What was up with that one? Well, I don't know. The
materials were late.
The client, we didn't stage the pallets well. We had to keep running to the front to get the pallet.
And then that conversation either turns into a training opportunity for your crew. Don't stage pallets that way again.
Yeah.
Or an estimating correction for the next estimate. It's one or the other. Either it's going to impact the estimate or it's going to impact training or process or logistics on the production.
But the key is all the people involved from sales, design, estimating, and building, all those people are in that meeting.
That's right. And another key thing I'll just highlight, I'll just give it as a suggestion. It's something that will help garner buy-in from your team, is, KPIs, bonuses, incentive plans. That, you need to tie them to things that when the business wins, so can the recipient of the bonus or the incentive plan. And
Yeah.
a great way to do that is bonus your team based on beating or exceeding hours on a job, not so that you
Not to
go
cut corners.
fast, not to cut corners, but so that when the company does win because of their great efficiency and managing of the job site, they get a bonus. And what you're going to find is suddenly they want to clock in and out because they want to know where they stand in real time on that job. And so that they can, and then what's going to happen is if things are off, instead of the salesperson calling out the crew saying, hey, why was XYZ wrong? The crew will call out the salesperson, the script flips.
Yeah.
And say, hey, dude, we did not have enough
mutual
hours.
Accountability.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. Are there pitfalls with that though? Example, like I said, cutting corners. Like, is there a quality control that one should consider implementing to make sure that those KPIs on performance in terms of the build side aren't compromising the output of quality?
It's definitely something that has to be addressed. At Tussey, we never formally did anything, but I know that there's teams that will have to. Like, so let's say there's a callback on the job, wipes out the bonus, right?
Yeah.
You have to do something that protects.
So the bonuses aren't immediate. The bonuses,
that's right. Yeah,
there has to be some kind of hold period,
or it just gets deducted off the next bonus. Whatever, however you however you mechanically do it, it's up to you. Yeah,
that's true too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And then finally, we've been talking all about labor and job costing, which is by far the hardest part, no doubt about it, because you need buy-in from the crew to make it happen. But another piece is getting to the point where in your business, every single receipt has a PO on it, a job name, job number, whatever you're doing, because and at Tussey, we would literally be like, hey, vendor XYZ, you just sent me an invoice. There's no PO on it. I called my crew member and they said, they told you which PO should be on that receipt. Can you send me a copy with the PO on it? Like, just like make it a non-negotiable part of your process. You have to know what that job is for.
Your costs are tied to the right projects. Otherwise,
that's
you just have costs and you don't know to where they get attributed, and you can never be accurate in forecasting.
That's right.
It's all in a discipline.
It is
totally makes sense. It's just making sure that everyone's bought in on it. That's why tying bonuses and things like that to the right behaviors and the right KPIs make that happen, and it doesn't become just your cross to bear. Like, everyone's bought in on this. Everyone is on board with the mission, and everyone understands how they contribute to the success of the company. And when we're successful, you're all successful.
That's right. And you're nailing it, because that's the way often when people, or I shouldn't say often, sometimes when people sign up with Synked Up, they're like, yeah, I want to do this. I want to do the budgeting, I want to do the time tracking, I want to do the job costing, I do it all. And then a few weeks later, they come back to us and they want to cancel, saying, my team doesn't want to clock in, so I'm giving up on the project. I'm like, well, that's a leadership problem, not a systems or a software problem. And really, and the way I like to overcome that is as a suggestion is to say, let's start off on common ground. Let's start off on the same foot. Common ground being, hey team, we all want to make more money, right? Yeah, sure. Common ground established. Okay, so for us to make more money, the company has to make more money. It can't come from nothing. Okay, got it. I'm with you. I'm tracking. For the company to make more money, we have to know our job costing. We have to know our numbers on every single job. Okay, I'm tracking. I get it. And here's how we'll do it. Here's how we're going to track our time. Here's how we're going to track our expenses and materials and all of that. And by the way, I'm sure your team will have ideas on how to make it easier to track time and keep track of listen to them. Don't just like copy paste. Here's how we're going to do it. Like, listen to them. Like, otherwise
they'll be more bought in too. They have ownership over the idea.
Exactly. But when you start off on common ground like that, we're doing this so we can all be more successful instead of just shoving a process under their nose and saying, here, do this. I mean, you can guess which one will be more successful.
Yeah. Okay. Anything you want to add on job costing? It's really just doing the work. Like, you did the estimate, double check every element of the estimate and talk about it. That's what job costing is.
It's not glamorous. It's discipline. It's like going to the gym every day. It's you don't get accolades. You don't get high five. It's not fun, but you have to get to, you have to get to the point where it's a non-negotiable part of your process.
Well, you say it's not fun. At the same time, if you have competitive people and they're getting compensated for their compete level, like, it can be fun.
You can do a lot to make it more than just data entry, for sure. 100%. And I can tell you from my perspective, working as a crew leader in textile landscaping for 15 years, the reason I did that data entry is so that I could see that estimated versus actual progress bar in real time. I wanted to know where that was, and I was going to beat it, and I was going to do it without any callbacks. Mm-hmm. That was my goal.
Especially if you have multiple crews. Like when the crews start competing with each other, that's when you start making some serious money.
100%. So, the sooner you just come to grips with the fact that it's a daily discipline. It's not something you can sit down in January and do once and install. It's a daily discipline that requires buy-in from your team. That's what it looks like. And the end result of job costing is not looking at colorful charts. It is I didn't know that. Let's see why it's taking twice as long to do a retaining wall. Here, let me help you with training. Here's a tip on how I handle the logistics when I do a job like this in a tight city backyard. Like, that's what it turns into.
Mm-hmm.
That's the output.
If people want to learn about this, what's the best way for them to learn more? Go to SynkedUp.com.
Go to SynkedUp.com. Right on the how it works page, there's a short video that shows you exactly how SynkedUp does this as an app. All the principles that I've been describing, you can do it. I don't care if you do it on the back of a napkin or if you do it in a spreadsheet or you can do it in a software.
Just do it.
It's not, just do it. But SynkedUp makes this all easier and gives you the ability to do real-time data at your fingertips inside of an app. That's why SynkedUp exists. So you can see how it works by going to SynkedUp.com. There's a video there. You can book a demo and we'll show it more to you and learning more about your business and where you might be fighting bottlenecks or process challenges. And we'll show you how SynkedUp may or may not be able to address those for you. And ultimately, look at the social proof. Look at the results that other people around you have had by implementing these things. And I'm telling you, the juice is worth the squeeze. It's worth it. It's not fun. Growth is always painful. It's easier to keep doing what you've always done, but the juice is worth the squeeze and you will make your company more profitable.
All top performing organizations have some form of analysis of what was just done and how we can do it better. Whether it's sports, whether it's hardscaping, whether it's even a business like ours. We're a manufacturer, but we do projects all the time and we track the time per person, per part of the project. So like we have work areas, like we have posters to promote Showcase. We have the actual shows. We have the ads for the shows. We have the booking of venues. All these things are pieces. We estimate the time. We track the time so that we know how much time it'll take. We want to do more next year. We want to do more shows. Okay, well, we need to budget this much more time. We need to spend more people. All that stuff, it gives you that information so you're not guessing. That's really important.
And if you need one last kick in the pants for motivation, companies that don't job cost are usually running at 10% lower profit margins. You know, that's why I say job cost, it's worth the squeeze.
100%. Okay, we're going to talk about some of these things at Showcase as well. I know you'll be at all of our shows, but we're going to be talking about not necessarily the job costing side, but a lot of the things that can be done to make crews more efficient from a tool standpoint, from an equipment standpoint, which materials will give you the best results. So that'll be a lot of the stuff we'll be talking about. And if you want to learn more about that, find a show near you. They're running from January to the end of March, actually into April this year. Events.hardscaper.com. Totally free. Sign yourself up. Bring your crew leaders. Bring your crews. Bring your salespeople. Bring your designers. The more the merrier. It's an educational event to help hardscapers learn how to win and compete better in 2025. That's all for this week, guys. Wes, thank you for joining us once again, and we'll see you next week on the Hardscape Growth Show. You've been listening to Hardscape Growth, a podcast for hungry professionals who want to grow their businesses and level up. Each episode is all about taking the next step in running your business, so make sure you never miss a show by subscribing on your favorite podcast player. And if you're finding this information to be useful, help others in your position discover us by giving us a star rating and leaving a comment. We'll see you next week.